disrespectful. Talk about your families, your kids. It's just a disrespect to the game, man. I think it's something that needs to be brought up. I'm tired of just going out and playing and letting fans say what the hell they want to say. I'm not with that, because if I was on the street, they wouldn't just come up to me and say anything crazy, because I don't play that. So I just think it's disrespectful when they get the chance to do whatever they want to do. It needs to be put to a stop, especially here in Utah.
Talk about my family, the crazy will come out. Russell Westbrook not happy with the Jazz fans after being eliminated in Utah on Saturday. But, Stephen A., the real question for Russ is, where do the Thunder go from here? Because Paul George set to be a free agent, and Melo, how about Melo, says he's not coming off the bench.
Well, first of all, I'd like to address what Russell Westbrook initially said. Some of those fans, you certainly don't want to castigate all of them, but it's a history there with some players, whether it's Steven Jackson and the Warriors and what they intimated some of the racial slurs and folks wishing for them to go to jail and stuff in the past when Steven Jackson was playing there. Derek Fisher once played there, and he was a hero there, and then his daughter got ill, obviously, and he still played there, but ultimately wanted out of his contract and ended up playing for an opponent, and you had folks chanting some very incendiary things about his daughter. And then you hear Russell Westbrook. I mean, those are just a few examples. And it's not the first time we've heard that about some of those fans in Utah. Now, you talk about the Mormon state and all of this other stuff, and you hear a lot of things from a religious perspective, and so it comes across well, they're not Christian, but it comes across as a very wholesome environment. But then you go inside that arena, and some of them, not most, not all, but some of them who unfortunately stain the rest of the fan base. It's something that the NBA may need to address as it pertains to Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, with all due respect, he's in no position to sit up there and talk about what he will and will not do. He's got an opt-in contract that's going to pay him $28 million. He is about his money. He's not getting that money from anywhere else. So if he opts out, he's obviously willing to take a pay cut. That's the situation. And he didn't. And if that was his last game with OKC, it didn't look well. And Paul George, still a star, played well for the most part in the series, but boy, did he pick a bad game, Max, to not show up and help Russell Westbrook. That was Friday night. Neither him nor Melo showed up, and you desperately needed them to do so.
I'm going to address each one of those. Number one, Russell Westbrook's 100% right. Not even a little bit wrong. Buying a ticket does not give you a license to say whatever you want to an athlete. That's absurd. You want to say you stink, or even with stronger language, I get it. But you can't start talking about people's family and stuff like that. Don't. He's right, and whoever did it is wrong. That's one. Two, unequivocally. Two, Carmelo Anthony actually is in a position to say he doesn't want to come off the bench because he's going to opt in for $28 million. He knows he has that leverage. He's going to be on the team. He's going to eat up an enormous amount of their cap. And Carmelo has been a great ISO scorer throughout his career. Not much more than that, let's be honest. He has not had ideal conditions in terms of winning a championship, but do you require ideal conditions to even get to a final? You need the conditions to be ideal. They can't just be good, because he's been in some good situations. Hasn't done a whole lot with it. Great ISO scorer once upon a time. I think in the right circumstance, he could still be a useful ISO scorer. But his leverage right now is the opt-in, which makes him feel comfortable saying, I'm not coming off the bench. And finally, Paul George, where's he going, right? Like, because he ain't staying there. Where's he going? L.A. is a possible destination everyone's talked about. Someone talked to me about the possibility of Philadelphia. Well, I've been saying Philly is the perfect spot for LeBron, but it makes some sense for Paul George, too, as the third wheel on that team.
If you can't get LeBron.
And I would also say if market doesn't matter as much nowadays, though I know it does, he should take a long, hard look at New Orleans. Because New Orleans is kind of missing a two-way wing who can shoot and defend like Carmelo and like Paul George and switch and everything. You have that backcourt with Mirotic and AD, and you add Paul George. Oh, they're as good as anybody.
I will tell you this before we end this segment. This really stood out. It just stopped me in my tracks. Russell Westbrook, I think it was Russell Westbrook. It was Russell Westbrook or Paul George, one or the other. They gave the ball to Melo when Utah was making a run. They gave the ball to Melo. The Carmelo Anthony, ISO player extraordinaire, we know what he brings. Threw it back out so he could go and set a pick for Jeremy Grant. I couldn't believe it. That's not the Melo I know. Something is not right. I don't know whether it's Father Time, whether it's him emotionally or something, but I did not see Carmelo Anthony at all in these playoffs. And now in his 15-year career, 9 times He's been eliminated in the first round. One time to a conference finals, 0 appearances in the NBA finals. He was drafted number 3 overall in the same draft that LeBron, one of his best buddies, went number 1 overall.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say.
But he's a team player. He's not coming off the bench. Tomorrow, we'll preview LeBron's next test as the Cavs open their series in Toronto. Don't miss that Tuesday right here. First Take. Back in a moment.
Give me milk and honey.
Springtime is the time to buy a new Polaris. Right now, the world's best-selling side-by-side